so I just hit recording. Did you hear what I was telling Sawyer?
Yeah, briefly. So let's do it.
All right. Okay. Welcome to episode 4 of the UGB podcast. As always, we've got Sawyer with F&G Precision Coatings out of California, and John, who is a professional wino. We are really sad today because we had a guest lined up and we're still working on that, but it's been a while due to scheduling conflictions and all sorts of other bullshit. So we wanted to come on and at least do us three and kind of keep things going a little bit. The first thing, as usual, John, is on his fucking own time. We want to talk about the state of the industry currently and where we see the firearms world going, and just wherever that takes us. Who knows with us? But we were just chatting a little bit off camera, and Sawyer was talking about doing Cerakote work and things of that nature. I have some, I guess I can go into what I'm seeing, and then I want to know what you're seeing, Sawyer, and what you're seeing, John, from a retailer's perspective and also a consumer's perspective, because you got a better feel on that than Sawyer and I do, I think. But briefly, I'm seeing, and this is within the last 3 weeks, let's say, I'm seeing, I've got inventory for the first time, and not a shitload of inventory, but I've got inventory for the first time 6 months, you know, that I can say I've actually got shit to come in and look at. It's not sold as soon as it comes through the door, or, you know, people waiting on stuff that I tell them I'm going to get. And again, I don't have a bunch, but it seems like a bunch from where we've been. And I've always been able to get magazines and accessories, you know, that hadn't been too big of a deal. I've had to wait on stuff a lot and do some digging to find some shit. We're talking scopes or triggers or whatever. I'm seeing things, I hate to use the term level off because I don't fucking know what tomorrow's going to bring. Long gun, including the black guns of the AR, AK world, the pricing's getting a smidge better on the retail end. People aren't getting fucked quite so bad. And ammo, ammo's still fucked too.
Hold up. Depends on where you're at. There's 2,500 rounds of 223 purchased for 50 cents a round at my local ranch supply store.
And see, that was what I was going to say. The caveat to that is it is coming in a little more plentifully than what it has been, but whether or not the retailer is going to see it depends upon the people selling it and whether they're going to just try and skull fuck people, or fuck, they may be hoarding onto it themselves. You know, I don't know for sure what's going on with all of that, but I am seeing ammo come in a little more, and not a fucking lot by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have the awesome fucking grip on ammo like I wish I had. Back before things got weird, I was kind of known for finding hard to find guns. I had great connections, and I still do, on guns. I can get, or used to be able to get, you know, I used to have dealers calling me from other parts of the country wanting me to find them X gun, and I'm like, you buy from the same fucking people I do. Why aren't you getting it?
Yeah, and that's like with all, we can't find shit out here from RSR or Sports South or any of that shit because we're already filtered so deeply with the California compliancy, and then you put the caveat on top of that. So of the 100% that's available, we can get 20%, and of that 20%, there's nothing available.
But I mean, even free states, they would, I mean, I had this reputation and I'd ask them, I'm like, why the fuck aren't you getting it? Because like I said, you buy from the same people I do. And they're like, I don't know, you just always seem to find that kind of stuff. And I did. And I'll give the secret away. It was because I fucking worked my ass off to do it. I put in the effort, and most people just,
man.
Yeah, I mean, people just wouldn't put the fucking effort in to find, you know, a flat dark earth MCX or whatever the fuck it was, and I would make the fucking phone calls and do the work. Anyhow, so I gained that reputation, but I gained the connections to do that. Well, I never could sell ammo to match the big box online stores and even the big box, you know, brick and mortars. So I never got that fucking hook to be able to get the ammo. And so I'm still kind of fucked on it. But what I'm seeing across the board is ammo starting to come through. I don't know, Sawyer, you were in kind of what we were talking about earlier. And I know you mainly deal or primarily deal with just Cerakote stuff. Are you seeing any trends or any kind of changes or anything like that?
I did probably a total of 40 sales this year, calendar year, in firearms. Total 40. And of those 40 that came through our shop, 80% of them were private party transfers. The stuff that we were able to get our hands on was either drop-offs that people said, sell this for me, or very rarely we were able to get a dealer-to-dealer connection on a couple Glocks or a couple, you know, neutered ARs and things for people. There was some oddball stuff we found, shit that other people just didn't want. There's a lot of these like plastic AR bullshit lowers out there, and out here people are just like, it's kind of like when the lights start coming on at the bar, they'll go home with just about anything. So they were like, yeah, it ain't what I wanted, but it's 2:00 and I want to take something home. So they just, you know, go after whatever we get our hands on. And we've never been one to mark any of that stuff up. We're not a great retailer in that sense, but it's been tough. And then as far as the ammunition goes, it's been our local gun store that really is the big retailer for ammo and stuff like that is Camarillo Gun Store. And if you don't know those guys, I'd check them out. They're pretty cool.
Sent some guns with them from you.
So, oh yeah, he's a great guy. I love the guy, but he's a pretty cool dude. He's always been kind to me. He broke me off at certain periods and times at the height of COVID. If I needed to get 1,000 round AK, you know, for just a few $100s, and he could have been marking it way up, and he didn't. So we saw a lot of horse trading through the shop, guys coming in, mostly I call them stackers, you know, people that are just stacking ammo. A lot of guys come in and say, hey, I got 500 rounds, I got 1,000 rounds, got 5,000 rounds, put the buzz out. So it's like, if you weren't kind of checking in, because as you know, out here, there's a permit required to sell ammunition. So if you decide to do that in your own world, person to person, then we just kind of, you know, hey, yeah, you know, I heard Joe from down the road's got some ammo. As far as buying it or getting it in stock, I stopped trying because it was just such, I mean, the amount of effort that I put in versus what I was going to make on it, even if I did mark it up. I mean, I had direct manufacturer relationships with 2 different manufacturers here in the state of California, guys just doing nothing but making bullets. And they started hitting me in the pocketbook where it was like, I would see, you know, I was getting a bullet at a penny a round on top of what, you know, it was costing them. And then it went to 50 fucking cents a round. And I'm like, dude, I can't even, I'm actually paying you to let me have this in my store, you know, and they're like, oh, 20,000 minimum in each caliber. And it's like,
yeah, I don't know how these fucking guys are selling that shit retail face to face and being able to sleep at night, let alone having a fucking straight face doing it.
Dude, when I started, they were talking like, I had a good relationship with this one company, and they were making a penny. They were making a penny a round. That's what their profit was a penny a round. And I had the guy show up, and he unloaded the truck. And as he's unloading it, he slides me the invoice, and I look at the invoice and I go, what the fuck what the fuck is this? This is what I charge, to sell this ammo. He's like, that's the cost, man. Take it or leave it. And I'm like, why didn't you hand me this before you unloaded 10,000 rounds? I said, because now this is real awkward. You're going to need to load them right back up. Because I'm not going to rip, and the customers are like, well, why didn't you just take it? We would have paid. And I'm like, well, I'm saving you from yourself, because you shouldn't pay that money for that. I don't care what, you don't need it that bad. Like, it's ridiculous.
So what are you seeing as far as like Cerakote work? Are things changing or same or?
I think number one, I think people are less inclined to let their weapons go. Unless you're an avid collector, where, you got 25, 30, 40, 100 guns sitting around. You don't mind sending your race pistol, your Gucci Glock or whatever it is off for paint. We got a lot of guys that are, 2 and 3 gun only owners. And they go, yeah, I'd really like to get it done, but I just don't feel comfortable having my gun away for 2-3 weeks. And it's like, I get that. I understand it. So, what I have seen a lot of is knives. A lot of knives getting coated lately. A lot of, stuff like that. But firearms, it's been the same slow, steady trickle, but it's not been the boom that I thought with all the new purchases. I think everybody's just kind of stacking their chips and just sitting on things, waiting for, I guess I don't want to say a more peaceful time, but I think now isn't the time to be fucking around putting paint jobs on your gun. I think it's
motherfuckers are nervous.
Yeah, that's
I
what
think, guys, look, you've had, I'm shocked at the price increase I've seen in firearms. Let's be real, the cost of production should have actually come down just by means of quantity that these manufacturers are producing. And you've got companies that are now damn near doubled the cost of something like a simple AR in the last calendar year. So I think what you've got is, you've got a lot of people that were on the fence about buying an AR. Then it took some, national disaster, country going in this downward spiral to buy one. And now that $500,000-$800,000 AR they could have bought just cost them $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. So yeah, now putting a fancy paint job on it's just out of budget.
Hey, what did you, Jeff? What'd you let that copperhead go for? Just because I don't care, but I do care for comparison, because I went and looked that gun up trying to get one, and they wanted $2,800 for it at some retail.
I sold it for $1,950.
Yeah. So almost $1,000 over what you were asking, and there was a markup on that. So it's like,
and there was no doubt in my mind I could have got more, but
it's insanity.
So kind of going back to, and I still want to get to John, but I'm sidetracking here. One thing I want to touch on is you mentioned ammo and the margins and all that. I've had a lot of fucking guys, and specifically on magazines, because again, I'm rolling in mags, hitting me up saying, what if I buy 100 or 200? What kind of deal can you make? What about I had a guy ask for if he bought 400 magazines, AR mags. And I'm like, I figure it up, and there's 2 problems. Number one, I'm not having any issues selling them at regular price, which my regular price is cheaper than, the majority of the people that are selling them. But number 2, the fucking margins aren't nearly as fat as what people think they are. And that's across the board. And and magazines actually probably have the best margin for me. Ammo, next. New guns fucking suck, as far as margins go. And I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that, but people don't realize.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something though, because general rule, and I don't mind putting this out there because I think it's pretty reasonable. But general rule of thumb, when we were rolling full steam and getting guns off, from dealers, dealer supply stores, we were seeing an average of $100 a firearm markup, right? And then we'd make a little bit of money on the transfer. We'd make about $37 on the transfer. Most guys out here charge, so this is going to blow your fucking mind, but a lot of places out here, it's $75 to up to $150.
I've never heard 150, but I knew it was 75 to 100.
Look, call any gun store and see me. Well, not necessarily any gun store, but call some gun stores in Thousand Oaks or Simi Valley, and you'll get your fucking socks blown right off. And so yeah, they're only making $100 on the markup, which is common. But then that was pre-COVID. So even selling, like, you got to sell 10 guns a day at $100 a markup just to make the nut for the shop. So
that's like, overhead, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got 4 days of that, and then you're paid. Now you can start making some profit for the house. But with the magazine, you're getting the magazine for $12 a piece or $15 a piece in bulk, and you're selling it for 20, and then you've got to do the shipping, you got to do the fucking handling, you got to do all that shit. At the end of the day, man, you're making $1 a mag or $2 a mag, and people are like, "Oh, well, can I get it for $11?" And it's like, sure, why don't I? Actually, you know what? Why don't I come mow your lawn while I'm at it, motherfucker? Like, if people want it for cheap. They want it yesterday, and they want you to smile about it. So it's like, I don't know if the general gets it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I've got, and I'm not sucking my customer base's dick, but they've been fucking phenomenal with me. I've been very, very blessed and fortunate with that. But I got to go back because I want to hear from John. You've got a better feel for the retail end. What are you seeing? Any trends? Anything different?
Yeah, so I definitely think that we've either
I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit, John.
We've either reached market capacity on ammunition, because I am seeing, like I said, I just bought 2,500 rounds retail at about 50 cents a round.
We waited too long, Sawyer.
I gotta buy John a hotspot.
I got full service like you.
Yeah, we lost you, man.
Am I back?
You are now.
Hold on.
Okay.
While John's talking, I gotta answer the door real quick. I'll be right back.
But so what I'm seeing and what I've learned and talking to the people that I bought ammo from retail is that they actually have long-term contracts with their ammunition providers. That's why they're getting their ammo. So the problem therein lies is that these guys have the ability to group buy from 30 retail locations, and the ammunition manufacturers or third-party distributors are obligated to send them ammunition. So I think that's part of it. Now, on the gun stuff, I can tell you this. Of the few gun shops here in our little town, everybody now has black guns are back on the shelves, Glocks are back on the shelves. You're no longer walking with a barrel. I mean, there's name brands. Hell, I walked in our little shop here, a little ranch supply store. I think they had a Daniel's Defense.
So, anyways.
All right. Well, that poor John, he's always on the road. You can't fault the guy. He's a hardworking son of a bitch, and he's always doing something. So
they are on the shelf. I was like, what? I mean, they have it, you know. So I don't know. We're over the hump. The big tell that I had 2000.
Hey, I was saying you crazy fucker. I wasn't even talking shit yet. I was just saying that you're always on the road. It's a pain in the ass for you when you got to deal with us. So,
all right, he's in a dead spot.
Yeah, it's all good.
I've got to be in a fucking good spot.
Well, I don't know if you're hearing what we're hearing, but it's different. So, but
we ain't getting much of you.
I think John's got a cool perspective being in the place that he's at, because there's I don't know. I wonder.
Well,
if
I want to find out where he got that 50 cents around ammo 223 from, because I mean, again, back to what I was saying about the margins, they didn't make fucking dick on that. I mean, in the retail environment, I don't know. You kind of mentioned $100 a gun. For us in Kansas, it was always, if we were able to make 50, if we made $75 on a gun, we kicked the fat hog in the ass. But on a general retail rule of thumb for us is we need to make 35 cents across the board or 35 cents?
Yeah.
35% margin across the board to cover overhead, to basically pay all the bills and make it worthwhile to actually continue to do it. Otherwise, we're fucking losing money. And 50 cents around, I don't know what he got for sure, but the prices I'm seeing from distributors and wholesalers and all that, they like he alluded to, they had their contracts, so they must have got that at 2020 pricing, probably somewhere around August, I'm guessing, of 2020. And if they honored their pricing, again, I don't fucking know, but they had to.
A big shocker.
I know, right? But they had to, in order to at least, get close to making any fucking money. And I don't know. That's surprising that he got it that cheap.
Well, I think too. I think there's a lot of hungry mouths out there, and I mean, I don't think I've ever asked you this question about, and it's not one for public, but just like, there's overhead. Do you own the building you're in? Do you rent the building you're in? Are you paying payroll taxes? Are you paying workers' compensation? Do you got fucking Tweedledee and Tweedledum wandering around in aisle 2 and aisle 3 all fucking day, reorganizing the shelves? And as soon as you answer yes to any of those 3 questions, you got a basic nut you got to make every day. So when I walk into the shop every morning, the minute my finger hits the light switch, it's pay time, because I know at the end of every day there's a bill. That fucking first light switch means it's on. Now I got to cover it. And the minute the guys walk in, and generally, to be honest, they're there way before me anyways. I'm a lazy piece of shit. So they're always there an hour early. The minute they get there, they're clocked in, they're doing work. The machine is going. So it's like, okay, well, if each guy isn't making, $100 to $150 an hour per guy per hour, it don't work.
And you'll understand this what I'm getting ready to say, even though you don't deal with the air conditioner aspect, you'll totally get what I'm saying here, is that I know when the fucking seasons change and I've got to turn the air conditioner on in the office or up front. And, I mean, you just have to fucking do it. Number one, I'm fat and sweaty and I don't fucking like being sweaty. So I kick that AC on, and man, when I do, it's like I know the fucking dollar signs are just fucking traveling out of my bank account, but it is what it is. But I know you got, and same way with the lights, whatever. And we were talking earlier, and this is kind of, I think, what I wanted to hit on. You mentioned your air compressor setup, and I readily admit mine's nothing compared to yours. But you said you've got like 25 grand in it?
I got 25 grand in one.
In one, okay.
In one. There's another 12,000 in the other one. They're both one of them's a full featured rotary variable speed from Atlas Copco, and it's a tankless because the entire air system it houses everything that you need. You got a chiller, a dryer, onboard oil coalescer, all that shit. And then the other one is my backup, which is a fixed speed rotary with a 90-gallon tank underneath of it, no onboard coalescers, no anything. And basically the way that it works is the big boy pumps into the tank on the backup. The backup is an isolated system. I've got basically a two, I can't remember the technical term for it, but it's basically a switch disconnect between the two, where I pull the switch up on power for one, reach down, turn the other one off, and they cannot be both on at the same time. So if, when we're doing some of these jobs that are, like, I don't want to use the word mission critical because that sounds gay, but I'm going to use the word like really important for people to get their shit. And a client comes in and drops something off, and it's like, I've been there before where the compressor's gone down and it took fucking Atlas and their retard techs like 3 weeks to get out to me. And I'm like, hey man, this is how my shop runs. I don't know if you realize that, but I bought this equipment from you because of this. And that's why I got a secondary, is because I couldn't not do it. And spraying some of the stuff that we spray, it's like, you can't put paint on airplane parts and then go home and sleep at night wondering if your oil, your chiller and your oil filter was good. And then you've done all this work, and then 2 weeks later they've reassembled an aircraft and the fucking paint starts to peel from the inside out. And it's like, oh yeah, whoops, sorry, my fucking oil trap wasn't drained or something. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just a different level of fucking quality control that a lot of people number one, don't give a shit to do. And number two, in the general world, you don't need it. You don't need that. Like,
well,
that's just
and I had mentioned, and I don't do the volume you do, and I don't do the fucking the real high. What's the word I'm looking for here, Sawyer?
Say mission critical. Say mission critical. I want to be tactical today.
I don't do the shit that requires top secret certification and whatnot, but I had mentioned to you guys earlier off camera that when I started, I started doing work on my own shit. I thought Cerakote was cool, and I had time to fuck with my own shit at that time. And so I bought a cheap electric oven that you have in your kitchen, and I mounted it up on a stand in my shop, and that's what I used. And admittingly, some of my original shit was shit. I mean, the fucking work I did was shit when I was learning on it. But I got to where, and I still do it to this day. My compressor, I will, every day when I fucking come in, I expect my compressor not to fucking kick on. I just do, because it's fucking old as shit.
Dude, the progression to get, and I don't want the viewers to think, because there's guys out there that are like, oh, I might want to try doing this. Listen, guys, you don't have to walk in off the street not knowing a fucking thing about it and go out and buy something crazy like that. That was 6-7 years into doing business. When I started this shop, the current endeavor, I started it out of I don't even think it was a full 10-foot wide. I think it was 8.5 feet by 14 foot long garage at an apartment complex. I did not have a booth. I did not have ventilation. I had a pancake compressor, and I used to freaking go over to Agency Arms' building before they started operations at like 5 a.m. And one of the machinists that was just a go-getter, he'd let me in the back door, and I'd go in there and blast for an hour every day before anybody got to work. And I saved my pennies for like fucking a year, dude. And I bought a Husky 90-gallon, and I put that motherfucker in the shop and turned it on in that little tiny space, and it rattled the walls to the point.
Well, you were proud of it because you fucking earned it.
For it, dude. I worked hard for it. So you can do whatever you want. And I talk a lot of shit because it's fun about backyard Cerakoters. But
and you've earned that right too, in my opinion.
Well, it don't make me no better than nobody else, but if I was to grab a pancake compressor, a Harbor Freight gun, and even an unsandblasted slide, you could stand out on the patio in the free wind, and you could put a coat on your gun, and it's possible, and it might not look bad. It is. So I mean, the equipment doesn't make the man makes the equipment. So take that.
I'll never forget the very first gun I ever did was a Makarov CZ 83. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, I still got it, but I did it in my home garage and hung the parts to spray from the garage door track going into the garage.
Yeah.
And once I sprayed them, went into the house and put them in our home oven. I mean, literally, I did them in our oven, and I mean, again, didn't turn out great, but it worked. And I refined that process. Like you said, a guy can do it with minimal equipment if he has the process down. But
you don't even have to have the process down. You just got to be dumb enough not to quit, because I did. I think I've told you this story before, but I was doing Duracoat because I got my start not in firearms. I got my start in doing airsoft guns because, for one, I had just gotten out of the military. I was just fucking bored, and I was like, I'm gonna go. This was back when airsoft was. I'm in retrospect, it's still dumb, I guess. But whatever. It's a stepping stone for people, but for us adults that can own firearms, there's no real reason for it. But I went out there and I was just trying to get with some other dudes that were fucking ex-military and, kind of just trying to do something. I had nothing but time on my hands. And I rattle canned all my shit, and, people were like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I was like, well, shit, let me do yours. Finally, I worked myself up to a point where one of the maintenance guys at my apartment complex at the time was like, hey, man, I've seen what you're doing in your garage every day. Why don't I send you my AK? Dude, he sent me, it was a Saiga AK, and it had all the black grip, all the Chinesium foregrip and side, it was just terrible. I laid that fucking thing down on a piece of cardboard, and I rattle canned probably 50 layers of different rattle can paint on it. The paint was so thick that it looked like dry desert earth because the paint started to crack. And I filled it in with super glue, sanded it. Oh yeah, that's all I could think of. I had no clue, and then, 3 years later, the guy brought it back to me and he's like, hey, why don't you redo this for me? And because I charged him a good chunk of change and he was happy to have it. And, I redid it for free, but I just look back at that and I go, anytime I get too big for my britches, I always tell myself, like, you're a retard. It's spray painted an AK on a piece of cardboard on the ground, and you did a terrible job because you didn't do it right. So it's like, I get big and, on it. And it's like, there's dudes out there with more talent in their little finger working with Harbor Freight equipment, doing badass paint jobs that never probably see the light of day. And then,
like you said, we do talk shit, and I said it's because we've earned it, and I do feel that way. But you're exactly fucking right. Some of the shit I've done is like, man, it's fucking embarrassing. And we all started from, or most of us started from not knowing shit. But I want to go back to John now that he's back. So
there he is.
Let's talk about what you see on the retail side of it, and people don't forget that you are involved with a few gun shops as well from the retailer side of point, and not the consumer. So what do you see on both sides?
I think the big thing on as far as on the consumer side of stuff is I see light at the end of the tunnel. Once again, I don't know how much was heard when I was talking earlier.
Almost nothing.
Okay. You just burn that part out and we'll pretend like it didn't happen. The big thing that I'm starting to see is, like I said, I bought the heavy number of rounds, at a sub 50, I had 50 cents a round. But I'm starting to see that stuff. The big shining light that I saw this week is I did buy 2 full bricks of primers. That's
the hard one.
At like 43 or 44 bucks. So like 4 cents 4.5 cents a primer.
What
So,
they should be.
It's a little elevated from where it was in the good days, but
Right.
I mean, I get it. Materials cost more. So I think you have that. And then, the other thing that I am seeing is guns that people want are for sale again. You're not having to buy your weird oddball fold up fucking pocket card 22s or you're never heard of before revolvers or the kind of shit where you're like, the only guy that's buying that is buying it because he's bored and doesn't have anything else to spend his money on. And then on the other side, on the transaction side of things, not seeing the panic buying, not seeing the guys come in and go, oh shit, you got ARs? I'll take 4. So I don't know. And remember, I mean, I'm certainly in a isolated pocket, I mean, Sawyer says he still, can't find ammunition or guns. And I'm looking going like, shit. I mean, there's not a whole lot, the one major retailer we have here is still limiting you to the number, the quantity of ammo that they want you to purchase at one time, but they have it. And it's not like it was 4 months ago, 6 months ago, where when it showed up, every guy in town showed up, bought 2 boxes, and then called anybody he knew to buy 2 more boxes. The troubling thing that I see from the purchaser side of me is I don't know that we're ever going to get back to, I don't know what to call it other than pre-COVID prices. I don't think we're going to see the regression. I mean, I see companies, PSA, I've long been your champion and, said how great you were, but you can kiss my ass when you sell an upper and a shit butt stock and act like it's on sale for $649 fucking dollars. You're selling a fucking upper, a fucking grip, and a butt stock for $650. Get the fuck out of here.
Has it got the bolt with it? Bolt carrier group?
Huh, Lord knows. I mean, but like literally, that stuff. That's what I think as consumers we need to prepare ourselves for. Is I just think that everything's taken a 30 or 40% price hike, and we're not. I mean, we all knew that it was going to go up a little bit. We had been warned prior to that. I don't think we'll ever see pre-COVID prices again.
Hey, you know what, John? I actually might have some, I don't think it's necessarily insight on this. You probably know this already, but to those who aren't hip to it, the fucking dollar is down.
No,
it's gonna be absolutely there. So I've got some fucking fingers and some puddings in some overseas areas, and before, with the tariffs, it was like 30% down to get the product from point A to point B. They're like, hey, we know your current president is printing fucking money. We need 30%.
$10 trillion. He didn't print it.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if anything's getting more. I mean, obviously it's more expensive because it's but the buying power of our dollar is diminishing, and it is due to inflation. It's due to printing money. It's due to lack of fucking supply and overly demanded things. I mean, I don't know, man. I got some smart friends. I'm usually the dumbest one in the group, and they're telling me, they said, if you've got cash, put it into something that is going to hold its value outside of the dollar, because it's not the time to have it.
Let me ask you guys this, because this is something we were talking about earlier, that I could hear before I got here. How long a memory do consumers have? Are people going to remember the retailers that were totally trying to break it off in our ass for the
Deeper Than Dirt still fucking exists.
Thank you. They were the one I was going to bring up. Like, for everybody that wants to bitch and say like these guys were gouging, you speak with your fucking dollar. Don't buy nothing from them.
Yeah.
Don't fucking buy. I mean, like, look, I'm proud to show you guys might have seen me carrying it. I actually stepped up and bought myself what I consider to be, I mean, I can tell you this, I'm never spending more on a fucking AR in my life. But I stepped up and bought myself a what the hell's the deal with this thing?
Didn't you?
What's that?
You got that handguard you showed me.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that thing is sick, dude.
Yeah. So now I could literally right now, I think resale this for 800 over what I paid for it by buying it. Now, what I did is I looked at what other guys were paying for. I mean, it's albeit a nice, piston driven AR. I mean, the fit and finish on it definitely whoops PSA's ass. I wasn't going to spend $2,800 on it at a reseller. So I just waited and kept my eye out and just kept stalking, the actual manufacturer, purchased it direct from them. But that's what I wonder is I know that cheaper than dirt will never make a fucking dollar off of me. I don't give a fuck if in 6 months they're right back to underselling everybody. Fuck them. But I don't know how much of the firearms industry or consumers are like that.
My only hope is because, like I said, obviously they're still fucking around, and my hope is that it's kind of a gradual deal, a stair-stepping type deal, where back in the Sandy Hook days when so many people got burned and saw how fucking crooked they were, let's say you get 20% of the people that got it don't ever go back. And the other 80% are like, well, okay, I'm fucking whatever. And then the next time you get out of the 100% of people that saw the bullshit, another 20%. And then you get a gradual following. I don't know if that is necessarily going to be the case, but I think that's the only way that it's going to take effect, I guess. And I don't know, I could be totally fucking wrong, and everybody may go back because, I mean, I seem to. Yeah, I don't know.
Think of the rate of attrition, though, for number one gun enthusiasts and the consumer, and I'm not speaking ill of, customers or potential people that want to use our service. I'm just saying a lot of guys get into it in their, early, unless you're raised in the culture like we were. But a lot of guys get into it. They're new gun buyers. They get excited. They buy the AR. They get their night camo plate carrier. They get their fucking Gucci shit, and they show off their gun on Instagram for 2-3 years. Then they get married, get a kid. Their wife tells them, I don't really like this gun. And they go, I used to shoot. I used to be into it. But then you get the next people that come of age and they get into the market and they're not, bright-eyed.
I think that's a fantastic fucking point, man.
And I was actually put onto that by another guy in the gun industry, and he said, because I asked him, and I'll be straight up why I asked him. I said, man, how do all these guys that I've been doing, business next to or around, that do a fucking horrible goddamn job of what they do every day of the week, not one day of the week do they put a good foot forward? How are they still in business? He said, because the gun industry has a short memory. He said, because you got a high rate of attrition. Turnover is 2 years. 2 years for
really
2 years for the average customer. Think about it. You got guys that rise and fall to fame. You got a dude that, you put one viral video up on Instagram. You're fucking hot shit overnight, 48, 50 to 100,000 followers. Then, a couple beers later, you say something off color and everybody's like, that guy's out. You drop back down. You're not going to go out there and be spending the money or trying to do that. It just happens. That's the way it is. I mean, look at the Pokey stabby community right now. Fuck, 5 years ago, dude, that shit was like not heard of. Spartan combat knives, Spartan blades. That was the fucking hot shit. Now I see them, they're doing cool stuff, but they're into folders now. It's a completely different market. So, and that's not that many years ago. And, now you got the G10 concealable fucking jail pocket daggers, and you hide them things and go through the library fucking metal detectors and feel like an operator. And that's what it is now. So it's, 2 years from now, dudes are going to be wearing fucking Hawaiian shorts and rocking fucking M81 plate carriers. And that's going to be the cool shit. But I don't think that, like, to me, I'm old school, I People tell me I dress like I'm going camping every day. I don't give a fuck about that stuff because I'm old and I don't care. I just want to shoot straight. So it's like, that's awesome. So to me, you're not going to sell me a fucking bit of that. And there's a lot more guys like me out there. But then you got guys like, some of my guys that are younger, and they come up and they show me this shit on Instagram. I'm like, dude, have you seen this? And I'm like, if you wear that into the shop, I'm going to fucking kick your ass. And then I go to look at the page that they're looking at, and the page has got 150,000 followers. Comment section is just, I can't wait to pick mine up. And I'm like, boy, I'm really out of touch. And maybe that's again another sign of it too. Maybe there's an expiration date on your your validity as a provider to these things.
I would like to get somebody younger on that's heavy in the industry to kind of pick their brain on that. We're gonna have to do that next time.
Yeah, I mean, look at the polymer, the plastic stuff, the 3D printed stuff. I mean, yeah, it's cool if you got a 5-axis CNC machine. You don't need that shit anymore. I'm very interested in that, and I see guys. I don't think I should call him out on here because he's doing some pretty fucking gray area shit, and I think that's cool because he's just a kid in his garage with a 3D printer. He ain't even designing the CAD files. He's just pulling them off the internet, putting them together and shooting shit. And, I'm watching him mag dump out of a fucking, basically a Lego gun. It's just plastic. And
I think I know who you're talking about, but yeah.
You know who he is. He just wore a Spider-Man mask in his last video. So dude, I think that shit's cool as fuck. And I gave that kid one piece of advice. I said, don't you ever tell me your name or where you're at. And don't ever tell anyone else your name or where you're at either. Don't care how cool they are. Keep that shit to yourself. Because right now you're on the cutting edge of what's about to be a prime enemy #1. So, but that, what if they just start printing long guns? Like, oh, hold on. Yeah, come back in an hour. We'll have her all done. You just got to wait for the plastic to get hard, And these guys, and I like some of these manufacturers. They're really into what they do, but billet aluminum is going to be a thing of the past. You're not going to need to machine all that.
They've got those metal, and it's way fucking above my pay grade. But they've got those metal 3D printers.
Sintered metal's the real deal. I started using it in motorcycle parts. 8 years ago.
Is that?
Do you have one?
Laser sintering.
So yeah, it's laser sintering. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reservoir tip right there, buddy. That's the fucking. I've been looking into those machines, and they're like start, and I'm talking start, $9,000 for a good for one to make a fucking. You've got a 8x8 workable area with about.
But do you remember when the ABS or whatever the fuck filament is that you use on plastic 3D printing, when those fuckers first came out and they were only in like colleges and shit like that? I mean, they were in that price level.
Yeah, it's nuts. There's a client that's printing stuff. Well, he's not really my client. One of his clients is a client. And I got back in touch with him, and I started going through his shit, and I'm like, you motherfuckers are making everything. From canine helmets to bump helmets to optics mounts to fucking foregrips, and they're doing it all with that selective laser sintering. And if you got your shit right, you don't scrap any parts. You have one thing wrong on the CNC, and you scrap a fucking, you're on your fourth operation of 6, and you scrap the part. There's no going back. You can't.
Let alone the fucking tooling. The tooling on manual or CNC machining, physical machining is the fucking most expensive part.
Jeff, look at that. $9,000 sounds expensive for a fucking 3D printer. Go buy yourself a decent lathe and tell me what you spent.
In my opinion, it's not the equipment. It's the tooling itself. You get the fucking lathe for $20,000 or whatever.
Spend $300 on 10 carbides.
Yeah. We just had
fucking inserts and don't get me fucking started on all that bullshit.
We just had some 10mm holes tapped and threaded in some material. It was actually done in tungsten, and obviously tungsten's a pretty tough metal to work with. But each 10mm tap and drill bit was $40, and that was only going in an inch.
I can barely hear you now. I did hear you, and $40 seems like that's fucking cheap to me.
1-inch 10mm for tapping these holes was $40 a piece. So just to get the per tool, and maybe that, to me, that just sounds astronomical.
That sounds super fucking cheap to me.
Oh well, shit. Maybe I'm out of touch then. I don't know. I was just fucking looking at the bill, and I'm like, $40 for a fucking tap? Like, Jesus Christ.
So again, I kind of lost your audio, but you got a 10mm hole. You're back now, I think.
All right. I just, like I said, I was looking at the invoice for the services, and it's they wanted $40 a piece per tap, and we're only tapping in 1 inch, so we don't need a fucking 8-foot long tap. You know what I mean? So,
well, when you say only 1 inch, I'm like, fuck that. I'm thinking like a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch is a normal tap that I would do on a machining process for whatever, let's just say industrial piece or whatever. An inch tap is fucking deep, especially on a blind hole.
Maybe a blind hole in fucking tungsten, partner.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe you know what it could be. Maybe I'm just salty on spending money, and I'm like, you cocksuckers, every time somebody sends me a bill. So
again, kind of like what John said, and I've never fucking tapped tungsten, so again, that's above my pay grade as well. But the tap required to do that, not the machine or anything like that. The tap has to be fucking, I would guess, several $100s.
Well, Bunk, I'm just thinking the taps that I have in my shop right now are tungsten. They're made out of tungsten.
Right. And so you got to have something else.
I'll send you a photo. I'll send you a photo of what got done. You'll get a kick out of it. Yeah, you'll get a kick out of it. It's going to a famous Lakers basketball player, and I'll leave it at that. He's the biggest guy in the league. So we fucking no expenses spared on getting it done, but it's still like, fuck, man, everything, even getting stuff made out of tungsten, it's just nearly impossible to get done. You can't do it here. You got to have it done overseas, where the price of labor is fucking nothing. So
yeah, that sounds like an expensive project.
Yeah, luckily I'm not footing the bill on all of it, just my portion of it. So it's a partnership effort, but you know how that shit goes. But yeah, man, sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking, I mean, outside of the 3D printing, I mean, we're definitely at I don't know if it's a pivotal. I mean, Bunk, I mean, I sent you there's a fellow on Instagram. He's got a YouTube page too that is, I guess, decided to be fairly vocal in the attack on our liberty that's coming our way. Clearly, I mean, you already said it, Sawyer, that, these 3D printers are working in a gray area. How worried are you guys really?
About what?
Everything. I mean, is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about shit. I sleep like a fucking baby. I don't care. I mean, I've been preparing for years and years and years. And if you haven't, then shame on you. So,
are you prepared to keep your gun if you're told to turn it in?
This is exactly the same conversation I think we had with Jerry. I'm not going to have that conversation because my whole fucking plan is way different than fucking having a confrontation. If it comes down to a situation like that, I'm either packing up and moving out somewhere where I can not have those kind of interactions, or I'm going to choose a position where I pick the fight. The fight isn't brought to me. Whether I make it out of that alive, I don't know. I'm not going to come on here and pretend to have some big bravado about being like cold dead hands and all that shit. I'd like to be alive if I can help it. And if a fucking, half a squad of cops show up at my house and they're like, turn over your guns, I mean, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? And that's just me being real,
Sure. Bunk, what about you? I mean, your livelihood's dependent on it.
So I guess going back to the question, am I prepared? Is that what you're asking me?
No, not necessarily you personally, but I mean, where do you see the industry? I mean, in one in which you make your livelihood, and given the current some of the legislation that's bound to come at us here, do you think it's all rhetoric again, or do you think some of this shit sticks to the wall?
I think you look at the scale, you know, the pendulum scale. I don't know if that's the right word. You've got a good chunk of it that will stick to the wall, and kind of putting what Sawyer said about the turnover rate of new firearms enthusiasts, if you will, that are gonna be, you know, I don't want to fucking break the law, or your old school guys that have in their minds way too much to fucking lose to break the law. And I get both of those sides. I do think that the other side of it, though, the guys, well, I'm just going to use, let's say pistol braces get banned.
Perfect.
They're going to be a very, very large percentage of guys, and I say guys, I'm including everybody, that are just going to be like, fuck it, you know? And I think the reason I think that is from the people that I interact with daily, and I attract a lot of those guys from my attitude and the content I put out. And that's great because those are my guys. So that's who I want. So I get kind of jaded, but I also know that they are a smaller percentage. They're not the majority, but I think that they're growing. And I think that the legislation and all the rules and shit that's coming up, if you will, is so fucking absurd. I mean, and I'm gonna point at something else. The fucking menthol cigarette ban. I mean, I think all that is giving the impression that you know, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So fuck it. I'll put a stock on. You know what? I'm making my own can, and I know how to fucking use the internet to run a fucking auto sear. I mean, I'm already a felon with possibly 10 years in federal penitentiary, and I think it's $100,000 fine or some shit. I'd have to go back and look, because I run a fucking stock on a 12.5-inch gun when I was abiding by the law, and you turned a law-abiding citizen into a felon with the stroke of a pen. So fuck off. Why wouldn't I run a can that I made? Or why wouldn't I think that percentage is just about even with the percentage, and I could be totally fucking wrong because I am a lot, but I think it's about even with those that are abiding by it at this point in the game. And I don't know, take it for what it's worth. What do you guys think?
I'm right there with you. I look at something like this right here, a pistol brace. This has become very mainstream. I mean, think about it, guys. If you've been around ARs or black guns for any amount of time, a couple of years ago, I mean, if you were rocking anything other than a mil-spec 16-inch barrel, you had already paid the crown for the tax stamp to SBR that thing. I mean,
the 16-inch and the 20-inch guns, I would almost say, are in the minority from new purchases now.
100 when I haven't bought one.
16s, I'm still moving a lot of them, but they're still in the minority. I mean, the 12.5-inch, 10.5-inch, even, or whatever, are still just fucking blowing it away.
I would love to see the actual numbers of how many of these were sold when they talk about all these AR sales. I would love to know how many of those were, this is an AR pistol. I would love to know how many AR pistols were sold in this last, let's say, 24 months. And yeah, it's a
total AR sales.
Dude, I would guess probably 10 times higher, if not more, just because the buzz around the braces. Strictly based on the buzz around the braces. The more these politicians highlight things that you can't have, the more you want them. I think
that's a fact. That's a fact right there.
And it's the only I haven't seen a piece of paper that says anything, but I'm just going gut feeling. Because anytime somebody says you can't have this, what's the first thing you do? I go buy that shit. I put it on my shelf and I say, haha, look what I got, fucker. I can do whatever I want.
But then we're kind of like, in retrospect, we're kind of looking at the opposite, polar opposite of that, because they already gave it to us, and that was our workaround, you know, running the brace. And now they're saying we can't do it. So that just, like, to me, that opens up the playing field of there are no fucking rules.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I've been living in basically communist California now for about 10 years, and it's no secret to anybody that pays attention to what I talk about that I'm on my way out of here very shortly. And the county that I'm moving into, as of 2 or 3 days ago, passed through the city, through the county commissioner, they'd made the declaration that the county is a Second Amendment sanctuary, and the state is soon going to follow. Yeah, I know, right? And it's like, okay, cool, but you still have, all this lip service going along with it, because the cops don't like it. They don't like the constitutional carry because they can't pull you over for carrying a gun if you're suspicious, yada, yada, yada. So it all boils right back down to what you said, Jeff. It's like, where do you draw the line? And for me, it's all nice and dandy to have all those, pat on the backs and attaboys from the government. But at the end of the day, it's not, these inalienable rights that we have, or we're supposed to have. And I want to be careful what I say. It's up to the person at their comfort level to decide where their rights stop and where they're going to follow the law, what makes them comfortable. Out here, if you don't have a thumb blocking shark fin or whatever the fuck and a bullet button on this and that, you're going to go to jail for breaking the law, not only federally, but for the state. But then these cocksuckers switched out that bullet button rule, and they wrote in, like, all of a sudden now, if you got a bullet button, well, it's considered a machine gun. And it's like overnight.
I didn't know about any of this.
Dude, there's a certain configuration with the California compliancy where it basically makes it a machine gun by the letter of the law. Same thing with pistol braces, how, you can't shoulder it, you can put it over your arm, same thing, potato, fuck a potato. It all comes down to the ability of them to fucking fuck you. They catch you speeding, then they got, they're in, then they get this, they got this. It's like, oh, okay, well, I see you've got a bullet button on your gun, in conjunction with this. And it's like, no traffic cop knows the fucking the rules and shit on that. They just know that you're not supposed to have it. They're the ones that are the first line. And then you get the guys out here with the DOJ, and they come in. They don't come and knock on your door nice like. They come in and just fucking raid your shit. So I think that's a forecast. Unfortunately, New York, New Jersey, California, they've already pioneered this blueprint for the rest of the country. And the people out here are so worried about, keeping up appearances that they just wear that yoke. You know what I mean? Where you've got states like
wearing a mask.
Exactamundo, dude. Yep. And so you've got states like Tennessee, Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, Missouri, Texas. You got these like hold fast states that are like, no. We ain't gonna take that bullshit. We're passing these sanctuary state laws. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of I think it's a lot of lip service, but at least it's something considering.
Well, I love your perspective of it, because John and I are in areas that are a polar opposite. And so, and me in particular, and I don't know about John, but I deal with local law enforcement, and I fucking pick their brains all the time about what are your thoughts on, this, and this. And, our county commissioner meetings that I go to, we had one a while back, and before I got my page deleted, I made a big deal out of it about the whole mask issue. And our sheriff stood up at the county commissioner meeting and said, I will not enforce anything. I mean, he's on record, and this is a recorded deal. And so that is our environment. And it's interesting to get your perspective on it. Because I think that I guess we become jaded, and I still feel the way I do, but it's kind of eye-opening talking to you and hearing that, because everything you said makes perfect fucking sense. I mean, the blueprint's there. They've done it. And
Well,
now it just go ahead.
Bunk, I look at what Sawyer said and what you've said, and I wonder how many guys are there in California right now rocking a Magpul brace and a fucking pistol grip on a 12.5-inch AR saying, fuck it, I got it.
I know a guy. I know one at least. It's just,
You know what I mean though? Like,
do you go to the range with it? Do you because a lot of guys do a lot of shit behind closed doors out here. And that's it makes me kind of feel like, I'm not going to put it on like something fucking spectacular, but it just makes me feel like there's like the resistance to the powers that be. And it's not some, organized fucking World War II type shit, but there's just guys out there and they've got their own personal battle with the right and the wrong of it. And they go, you know what? This is my right and I'm going to do it. And I don't give a fuck. Now, those same guys, you won't catch them carrying that to the range. They keep that under their bed, or they do. It's in the dark, they keep it hidden. It's not for everybody to know about. And if you're smart, that's the way you keep it. There's a few guys, we know a guy, and he runs around with a fucking folder in the in between his center console and his passenger seat here. Not, non-compliant, does whatever he wants, 30-round mags, fucking everything, short barrel rifle with a folder. And he drives normal traffic with it. And he's like, if I get pulled over, I get pulled over. And I'm like, dude, you got balls the fucking size. I can't even quantify how big they are, because you're going straight to jail. And the cop doesn't have to be a weapons expert to know that's not good, for him. So it's I guess it's roll the dice, man. Some people fucking gamble in Vegas. Some people gamble with their lives, just driving back and forth to work every day.
What you got, John?
So back to what you were saying, Bunk, you go to your county commissioner meeting. I applaud you for that. I think that's what we need to do as a Second Amendment community. I saw a deal the other day, a group of parents, I believe it was in Arizona, took over a local school board and said, fuck your masks.
Utah or Arizona, one of the two.
They managed to elect themselves in and struck that shit right out the board. I'll go ahead and say it by name because he did it on the gram. So, Tony Cowden did a live the other night, and his whole deal was like, we have to become more politically active. And as much as I don't need more shit to do, as much as I don't need anything else on my plate, I do think that if we want our way of life to be preserved or to open up, I think that we do have to become involved locally.
You tagged me in that, and unfortunately, I was in the middle of working on guns, and I did not have time to sit and watch it and give it due diligence. But I'm interested to hear about that. I want to touch on that.
Yeah, on that. It was good at the start, and then he got fucking salty as a motherfucker as usual, and it kind of spiraled out. But I appreciated what he had to say.
Those are my favorite, though.
I gotta take a quick break, but I want to go on him with that. Like I said, if you can expound on that, if there is anything to, and also the T-Rex arms. I don't know if either one of you are familiar with what he's been doing this last week or so.
He got it up spicy.
So if you want to go on that, John, because I want to talk about that. I've got a lot of viewpoints on it, and kind of explain what went down, John, and I'll be right back.
So what Bunk's talking about there was Lucas definitely started talking about resistance to the crown, and speaking to our speaking to our inalienable rights. Talking about folding guns up, shoving them in backpacks, taking them where you go everywhere. The message of what is the difference between a pistol brace and a Magpul buttstock, and really starting to drive that message of dissent against the rule that we have right now. And I guess I asked him flat out on his post of that. I said, if you really want to do this, let me see. I mean, it's easy to talk shit. Let me see you throw a buttstock on a full auto fucking shorty with a can, no fucking papers, rattle that fucker off on the gram. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. The other big thing that I have, and it's not against him, it's just a point. I don't know his personal financial standing, but I can guarantee you he's in a lot better financial position than a lot of the people he was preaching that shit to.
Yeah,
So
I take all that shit with a grain of salt, man. I look at these guys and they're just actors. They're actors in
But
a
he's
big
so
show.
passionate. I mean, he is so passionate
dude,
about
he
it.
is. You as much of a turd as he can be sometimes. I watched. He did a fucking podcast. Like he is, as scary as it sounds, guys. That a fucking kid in fucking skinny pants is doing it. He's fucking doing a lot more than other people in this fucking industry that have
Absolutely.
a lot bigger fucking names.
Good for him.
I have respect for him for it.
I don't think we have. I don't think that anybody needs any elevation of status beyond what these guys' own egos has done for themselves. And I think that it's great that they've used their influence to a point, but don't you think for 1 second that it ain't about making money? It's just about staying relevant on the internet, because if it was true, you wouldn't see it posted. You wouldn't see that. The motherfuckers would be out doing it and not talking about it. And that's why I don't talk about it. I do what I do when I need to do it, and I keep it to my fucking self where it belongs.
Hey, I'm not trying to fanboy for Lucas, but look, the fucking little skinny pants wearing fucker put out a fucking put out a plate carrier at a price that nobody else would fucking compete with. When it got found out that his shit was getting jumped across the border, he immediately let it be publicly fucking known and sold that shit off at a fucking discount price. He makes body armor available to people, and he does fucking voice opinions that I don't know are good for his business. And I'm not talking on the Instagram. I'm talking with the fucking regulatory authorities. The shit he said last week, he doesn't have to say it.
I've never spoken ill of the guy. I don't really care because it doesn't affect my day-to-day bottom line. I don't get hyped up in other, like, I call them IG celebs or whatever. I don't get hyped up in whatever they're doing from time to time, so I'm not on the pulse with that. I just know what the motivating factors generally are, and it's usually the almighty dollar. So PR stunts are not uncommon from guys like this, and he might have a whole squad of guys behind him just snickering, you know. I don't know. I can't say because I don't know the dude. I don't have, we're not on a fucking Zoom call every week, So if he's doing that and he's on it, and that's the what do you call he's actually true to that. Congratulations, kudos. I think that's amazing.
Well, and I'm kind of conflicted between the both of you because I agree with both of you. The message is pretty fucking ballsy to put it out there like he's doing it, and I'm not going to just sit out here and say that he was motivated primarily by making money. I'm going to guess that, entered his fucking brain. He's not that stupid. He can think that far ahead. But to kind of what John was saying, I don't think it's really a smart decision in the long run for him to go on what he was going on about. And then also what John said, it's one thing to fucking run your mouth about it on the internet and have all these great points that I fucking agree with. But being a class 3 SOT and not, I guess, practicing what you're preaching, if that's, and to do that would be fucking career suicide for him. I'm just conflicted, and I guess I kind of maybe need help to think this through. I mean, it's no different than me. I'm class 3 SOT. I tell my following, if you will, you need to fucking rebel and you need to fucking go out and fight this tyranny and all this. And I write my check every year to the fucking government for my ability to run all the shit that I run. Where's the line at?
Punk, it sounds great, but look, I mean, the truth be told, I could go fucking fabricate cans right out back right fucking now. Ain't no secret to make a fucking silencer. But what do? I fucking pay you because you have all the legal paperwork, and I wait a fucking year to fucking do it.
There's my point right there. And it ain't hostile. It's just sensible. And it's because most people are not ready for that smoke. They don't, there's a few, trust me, there's a few fucking guys out there. They're all wearing masks on IG for a reason. I'm just saying.
And I agree. And so that, I guess my point is, do we take this fucking guy? Is he credible, or do we write him off as a total fuckhead for running his yap and not fucking doing it? I mean, aside from, we know the kid can gun, not fucking talking about any of that. I'm just talking about his recent post of, fighting the tyranny and all that.
I think it looks great on paper. I think, like Lil Wayne said, real G's move in silence like lasagna. No fucking.
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Think about it. Think about it. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. So you can't hear the G's in lasagna, right? It's corny, but it's funnier than fuck.
It took me a second.
Yeah, no, it's somebody fucking hit me up about that because I use that shit all the time. And somebody's like, it took me like 3 days. Then I finally woke up and was like, that motherfucker. I can't, you finally had it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Well, yeah, it's watch out now. Quick ones. No, but dude, I mean, back in my younger days, I was quick to talk a lot of shit, and then I fucking took a look in the mirror and realized you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing a fucking thing. Shut up. All you're doing is setting yourself up. And I saw guys that in the town I'm in, the fucking town I'm in, man, guys doing hard time for setting up 80% lowers. Come on over to my garage. I got everything programmed up for you. You just got to hit that red button. You remember those days?
Oh yeah, the parties.
Yeah, they do it for you. Well, he got a cease and desist from the ATF. He did not cease, nor did he desist. And all of a sudden, he had a party set up, and it wasn't just General Joe's at his house. He fucking had a bunch of fat boys come and knock down his shit, and now he's holding his ankles for somebody. And I think about what would happen if I fucking got, because and I'm sure it's beats, like from government agents or whoever the fuck, I don't want government agents, but somebody trying to set me up, come in and offer things that just sound too good to be true. Hey man, I got this. Hey man, can you do this? I'll pay top dollar. My answer's always no, because I'm not gonna risk it, dude. I like fucking going out and walking with my dog. I like being able to go down to the store and pick up a 6-pack of beer whenever I want one. Let's be honest, 12-pack. I want to do what I want to do, and until somebody really comes into my space and presses me, and actually presses on me. You kick in my door, you come in here, you start telling me to do shit or start pointing guns at people, you're going to get a reaction. That's when I'm going to react. But all this other bullshit that's floating around, they're going to change the laws. Fucking, I can't tell you how many messages. They're coming for our shit. It's like, dude, my granddad told me they were coming for our shit back in fucking 1940. Like they, you know what I mean? Like everybody's been coming for our shit since we fucking started this country. From the British to the Chinese to the fucking Russians, now our own government. That's what we're founded on, is rebellion. So rather than talking about it, I just say be about it. Just either be about it or don't be about it. But you don't have to tell anybody, because it's not about their liberty. It's about your personal liberty. And where does your personal liberty stop, in my opinion? The minute you walk out your fucking door. Now you're in public. So do what you want in your home. You don't have to tell me. I don't want to know. But that's your personal liberty space. So do it. Be about it. So.
And I agree. And I guess kind of circling back, how many people are about it and how many people are not, I don't know. I said my feeling. I think there's kind of a 50-50 ratio because, and John brought it up about how many people in California are running around with 30-round mags and all that shit. And I have to be real careful, on this situation. I have a feeling there's quite a few more than maybe what most people realize. And that's on East Coast, West Coast, everywhere. And, I get a lot of people sending me shit too and asking me questions. And a lot of it's like, I truly feel it's innocent. Like they're not baiting or anything like that, or they just more of a, hey, I like you. We've gained a rapport over the internet. Check this out type deal. And I still have to be super, super fucking careful with it. But there's a lot of motherfuckers out there that are more about it than there aren't about it, I guess.
Dude, RSR wouldn't sell me magazines. When they lifted, when the Supreme Court came on and said that it was unconstitutional, this is before the moratorium or the stay of judgment was placed by Xavier Becerra here, not too many months ago. RSR Group said, I said, dude, didn't you see the news? They're opened up. Because I had a high capacity magazine license for many years. And, I could buy freely when I wanted. Well, when they overturned the thing, I didn't care about renewing, which just so happened to be around that time, and let it go. They stopped selling to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? I've been buying magazines from you for years. Why? What's the issue? They're like, we're not going to get sued by the Department of Justice. And it's like, all right, man. Well, everybody here wants it. It's just it is what it is, and I don't see a problem with it. I just see the enforcement side of it, and they're not going after, it's like the Polymer 80 thing. They're not going to go after the Polymer 80 clients. They're going to go after the Polymer 80 distributor. They don't have time to hunt down 100,000 different customers when they can go right to the source, and they can fuck with the guy that's making them. The RSRs, the Poly 80s, the fucking 3D printer manufacturers.
But then they get their info of who they've sent a Polymer 80 to.
Yeah, I think it's all about money. I don't think it's really about them having it. It's just, I said this, you did it. Now there's a monetary fee and prison time associated with it. They can get $1 million from a company that's got a bank account versus going down to Kentucky, catching Bubba and his double wide with a Poly 80 that he didn't register. And they're like, hey man, we're going to sue you for $10,000 or $100,000. He's like, good luck. I ain't got shit. And that costs money to go get him. Costs money to put him through court. Costs money to do all that. There ain't nothing to get. What's the point? I don't know. That's just my theory.
Power.
Power and money. I mean, why? Look, if you're going to sue somebody, you don't sue
But
somebody.
they don't. Sorry, you're missing it. They don't give a fuck about your or my money. They make their fucking own money.
Well, yeah. Like,
I mean, look, we just printed $10 trillion fucking dollars out of fucking nowhere, man. At this point, it's fucking power grab. It's about telling you what you can and can't fucking do, man.
Yeah, but you got guys like the DEA that seize marijuana from states that are not, medically legal, and then they turn around, sell it, capitalize on it, and buy more shit. So there is some fucking Schadenfreude going on with that shit. You know what I mean? Evidence, and they use that shit. So they want to seize as much money, I think, as they can from credible sources. So they'll go after those guys. And if there wasn't a fear for that, then why would companies require, that are outside the state of California, require us to be in compliance with a state mandate? Where's the fear in that? They're fucking, they got distribution centers in Las Vegas. You think they're going to come over there and fuck with them outside of state lines? No, they're going to sue the shit out of them. Then again, I might be wrong. I don't know. That's just my thought.
The money deal, yeah, I mean, I get it, and I can't argue with it really. I guess I go back to, I'm not a cigarette smoker, never have been, but you go back to banning the fucking menthol cigarettes. To me, that all goes back to the power grab too, which in my mind is no different than telling you what kind of fucking shouldering apparatus you can put on your 10.5-inch gun. And yeah, I'm trying to think how I can articulate this. And I don't know that there really is a good way for me because I'm not that fucking good at it, but back to what John said, just fucking power. Well, we can tell you when and why you are able to go outside with a fucking face diaper on You know what I mean?
Shit boggles my mind, dude.
Me too. But it encapsulates everything, really. I mean, if they can do that and they can tell you back to the sodas you can drink, the size of the sodas.
Thinking that shit, dude, when they were gonna ban the big gulp. Couldn't get anything over 10 ounces or 12 ounces of soda. And it's like, hell.
And I don't know if they're gonna pass or if they're, I mean, the government doesn't do anything fucking fast. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if they're going to go through with the whole menthol cigarette deal or all that. But there's so many things in the firearms world that it's scary what they can tell us to do and what they can't. And, you know, this stems back to the fucking Brady bill. I don't know, man. It seems like a power fucking grab to me.
Well, the problem is that I guess what I see the problem is that they have politicized firearms. The reality is the Democrats don't give a flying fuck about guns. They clearly don't give a flying fuck about the health of this country. Okay, we have a country where 60% of the people are morbidly obese. There's numbers of ways to legislate things in there, but no, we choose to do fucking masks. Firearms are just the political tool. I really wish that they politicize something else because unfortunately they fuck with us. I mean, look, the state of Oregon is seriously considering a fucking moratorium on raising and slaughtering beef in the state of fucking Oregon, guys.
That state's gone to hell.
It's nothing more than firearms are just the politicized, that they've been politicized, and now we're stuck in a power struggle between two political parties that at the end of the day don't give a shit about us. I don't give a shit if they're Democrat or Republican. Neither one of them give a flying fuck about the people.
I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be, I would be willing to bet you could actually count on one fucking hand, not using your thumb, the number of politicians currently in Washington that actually give a fuck about their constituents. The rest of them are there because it's a fucking job and it comes with clout and power.
Yeah.
So what did, and I, like I said, I didn't get to watch the Cowden deal, and I know, I guess he got wound up or whatever, but he was just saying what?
It's pretty cool, man. So his whole deal was that, like, now is our time to organize, and his whole deal was like, and I agree with him. His whole deal was that what we need to do is we need to get ourselves elected as county officials. We need to, you don't like the fucking police? Go get yourself elected. Go be the fucking police chief. Organize. Fight this shit from the inside out. Because the idea that we're just going to rebel and say, fuck you, I'm not playing by your rules, clearly doesn't fucking work. You know, his whole deal was, he said, hey, look, I'm fucking old. I'm tired. I fought my fight, but I don't see anybody else willing to step up and light the torch. I'll light the torch, but God damn it, I'm looking for some of these guys in that next younger generation to step up and carry it. And his whole deal was, he said, look, I don't have free time on my hands, but that this issue is important enough to me, I'm willing to dedicate time to it.
So let me ask you guys both a question. Do you know anybody that's tried to do that at local level?
Yes.
Do you, John?
No, but I certainly face a different fight than Sawyer does.
Okay, but I mean, just the principle of it. So Sawyer, how'd that work out for him?
I think it's still going on right now, and it's, as a matter of fact, not to bring up one person, but the owner of the Camarillo gun store is running for county commissioner here in this, and I believe it's county commissioner. So if there's any Carlton Huss fans out there, send me a message and slap me. I'm wrong, but I thought he was running for commissioner. No, there's people out there that are tired of it. And what I was trying to ask or kind of touch on John's thing he was saying about Mr. Cowden, I would much rather hear some shit like that from a voice of reason and maturity than talking about fucking going and making something a point to just be like throwing some shit in a backpack and going around and being a wannabe gray man or whatever they call it these days, where you've got a guy offering a solution rather than offering a problem. Rather than putting your effort and energy into getting yourself locked up, maybe put in a little bit of fucking effort into making a change. I mean,
I agree wholeheartedly. I really do. And I love what your point is.
I'm not
my question though about if you know anybody that's tried to do that. And I know one guy locally, one of my very, very best good buddies. He served overseas and he did all that, and he came back and he ran for our county commissioner. I helped him. He won, and his whole fucking platform was, I will not raise taxes. I mean, that was basically fucking it. That was his mentality into every commissioner meeting. Everything that he did, everything that ran across his desk was, I will not raise taxes. He ran his term and didn't run again because they just fucking beat him down. And this is not a guy that gives up on shit easily. I mean, he's got resolve about as well as anybody I know. And he just got beat up so bad for so long, everything that he tried to do, and not from the constituents so much. I mean, he gave out his cell phone number, and this motherfucker was on the phone nonstop. I don't know how he did it, talking to the people of our county, but he got beat up on the inside by those that are entrenched and have the pull, so to speak. I mean, I know the people, and mainly one person, that run our fucking county, and they are not in a position to do so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They don't have the skill to do so, or
no, they're not in the political position to do so, but they pull the fucking strings. And he tried to fight that. And so my whole point to this was, and I agree with him, because and that's why I supported my buddy so much, is, you know, we talked about it, think globally, act locally. In order to do it, there has to be a lot of motherfuckers, like, and I don't have it in me to do it, but it would take my buddy, me, and several other of our buddies locally to get together and band together and fucking go in and do it, because the machine is fucking heavy and big right now everywhere. And, you know, starting at the bottom where we are up to the very top, I don't know. That's why I'm curious if you guys had ever known anybody that had tried doing that, other than, you know, the people that are in it every fucking year.
Yeah, I apologize if I didn't. I don't know the. I've been so busy with stuff. I don't know what happened with Carlton. I should be in contact better. There's a fucking line to get into his shop about an hour long every day, just waiting outside of it.
I get it.
And he's busier than hell, so we don't talk as much as we used to. But the last time I talked to him, he was doing it. Is as intelligent of a dude as he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get in. Not because of lack of effort or lack of intelligence, but just sheer opposition and force. I mean, the balls on this guy to fucking walk up to the gates of hell, basically. You know, this is a literal shithole. I mean, you got guys getting pinned for stuff that is so stupid. You know, I'm not saying, you know, they didn't do anything wrong, but you got homeless people fighting in Santa Monica, taking shits in public streets, and the cops are powerless because of the fucking city ordinances protecting the homeless. And you got guys like getting arrested for going to the fucking Capitol, not even doing shit, just getting arrested for being there at the protest because there was word they might have done something. No problem. You know, just being there alone was enough. You know, so it's like the if you're gonna play the game, know the rules. The rules are not in favor.
But I mean, I didn't listen to it, like I said, but the whole Cowden deal, man, that seems like money to me. And I think it was John that said, or maybe it was you, no, it was you, Sawyer, about him versus the T-Rex approach. Man, night and day difference to me.
Give me a solution, man. I'm not here to fucking argue an emotional point with anyone. I don't get mad about shit. I don't get heated because I don't give a fuck. Because that don't make any difference. I can go home and be pissed off and slam shit around, and it don't fix nothing. It don't change a damn thing.
I go to work to get pissed off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, usually work pisses me off some days, so come on. No, I'm just kidding. But you get where I'm going with it, right? Like,
yeah, I do.
You can internalize that shit. Somebody said something nasty about you on the internet, you get all mad. Who gives a fuck? But a solution, now that's where the real power is in, and I think that's just a difference in experience. And again, not picking on this guy, I don't give a shit about him, good or bad. All I'm going on is you give me input, I'm going to give you output, right? So whatever he puts out, I okay, cool, that's not cool. But I hear that other stuff, and it's like, okay, this guy, he's older, he's done his time, he's got some service under his belt, he knows what the wages of sin are, right? People dying ain't funny. And, you know, people talk a lot about like, oh, this cold dead hands, and I say that a lot, but it's like, are you ready to hold in your kid's guts when somebody discharges into your house and you're not fucking, you know, they don't hit you, they hit the missus, or they hit your kid.
Because you wanted that stock on that 10.5 inch gun.
Because you are the fucking molar labia. And I'm not saying anything about being compliant. Don't get it twisted.
No, I don't think we're going off on that track. And then people want to assume that, then they can fuck off.
There's some asshole sitting there that's like, oh, this guy doesn't believe in the fucking rights. And it's like, it ain't had nothing to do with that. If anything, it's about preserving your ability to have those rights the long haul.
No, that's the internet, dude, and I'm not fucking worried about them.
Yeah, but you know, there's somebody. So I just preface that because I don't, you know, they might not understand my perspective. But I don't know. I think John's got. Every time I've talked to John about it in offline or had his comments and stuff, I think he's got a good perspective on it because he, you know, John, fucking tell him what you always tell me about your rights and shit, and you know how you feel because.
John fucking left.
Where'd he go?
I don't know. With him, it's hard telling.
Well, his connection is always rough, so it is what it is. But no, John's always got a pretty level-headed attitude. I've noticed that he's taken a liking over to, you know, at first when I first started talking to him, he didn't like that guy, and now he likes him. And I think maybe it's just speaking to him on that. Having an opinion on the, I don't want to use the word insurrection, but insurrectionists, or having a, you know, being a protester of some type, and maybe that speaks to him.
He's back now.
Oh, there he is. John, I was trying to ask you a question and you were gone, so.
I'm sorry, living in the sticks, the internet blipped.
That's what I figured. But we were just talking about, you know, the difference between being a, you know, stand your ground kind of guy and getting your whole family shot up because you want to have your pistol brace, versus kind of what you and I have talked about in closed outside of this podcast. But you know, I told Bunker, I said you've got a pretty good perspective on your rights and how you feel that, you know, you can exercise them without getting yourself in trouble. And I don't want to speak for you, but you know, you've said some things to me that kind of stuck in the past, just about keeping a low profile, doing what you need to do to get back and forth to where you need to go. And, you know, I think I agree with that the most. So.
No, I think that's an important thing. I think everybody has to weigh. I mean, I think that's what makes the conversation that we're having tough, is that everybody has a personal amount of conviction. We all have something different to lose. Personal freedom, like I'll tell you right now, I mean, if you guys could see out my window, like I live a good life. I live on top of a mountain. I overlook, I mean, probably one of the more picturesque valleys in Western Colorado. I'm incredibly fortunate. I'm blessed every day. I don't have a wife. I don't have children. I've got one son who's older. I unfortunately my younger son passed away.
I don't have the same things to fight for or to fight against. And I think that's what makes this such an interesting discussion is the guy that has a six-figure job, a mortgage payment, 2 cars, $60,000 in credit card debt, a wife and 4 kids, is he ever going to stand at the door and with the out of my cold dead fingers? Probably fucking not. But even with my own convictions, I don't know a lot of guys. I mean, like, guys, I'll be straight up with you. I don't know a lot of guys who are going to do that on an individual effort. I think it's the same reason that a protest at the Capitol works when you have tens of thousands of people there, but you don't see individuals storming the Capitol. I think it's the same reason you see mob fucking rule take over in places like Portland, Oregon, and places in California and Baltimore and Philadelphia and places like that. When you have a large group of people that are willing to they're willing to do what individuals wouldn't, simply due to the fact that there is a protection that you have in a herd. I mean, do I think that an individual, I don't care what the political organization is, do I think that one of these kids that's out there protesting and raising hell in Portland on his own, do I think that little 125-pound fucker is going to do that kind of shit when it's me and him fucking stood up on a block together? Fuck no, he's not. Let's be real. But at the same time, I can't say that I think the Second Amendment community, that you're going to have individuals say, this is my fucking machine gun with a fucking can that I didn't register and a buttstock on it. I don't think you're going to have that guy do it as an individual either. That's why I think that, like, you know, when you have a guy like Tony Cowden who does, for lack of a better word, have clout in the industry, I think it's important when you hear somebody like him say, we need to fucking organize. That's a bold fucking statement to make from somebody like him. But I also think that he's right. If we don't fucking organize and if we don't figure out a way to bind up and stand together, they'll fucking take us out one by one.
John, I don't think anybody could have put it any better. That's why I was dancing around it and I knew you had the answer. I'm glad your fucking internet came back, because that was.
I have to agree. That was very well said.
That was a power move right there, pal. We were, boy, gotta take my coat off.
You got your little flush, did I?
Yeah, I was fired up, man, ready to go walk to the fridge for a beer. Holy smokes.
Fridge for a beer. I'm gonna cook dinner, boys. I don't know what the hell y'all's up to.